I'm so excited to talk about this, especially with you guys, because I would have never realized that this happened if it wasn't for Jonathan. The Duncan Robinson story.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Now we're getting into it. I asked Duncan Robinson.
Duncan, we saw you working out at West over the summer. What would you say was the focus of your workouts? What is that one thing that you now have in your bag that you didn't have last season, and that maybe might make you more of a problem next time you play Davis Reed?
At the end of the question, I said, what are the tools that you now have that will make you more of a problem next time that you play Davis Reed? Now, for everybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, Davis Reed is his co-host of his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the Long Shot podcast. Yeah, shout out the Long Shot. And they had this little argument on the show. And this is me clearing the air a second time because I had to DM the Long Shot. I'm not even joking. I had this conversation with like whoever manages the Long Shot podcast Instagram account. They had this conversation on the podcast where somebody on Reddit asked Davis Reed, who is the toughest person you've ever had to guard? Obviously expecting him to say Duncan Robinson. Mm-hmm. And he said some other random name. And Duncan was like bent over backwards over that. And they had this like funny like exchange, you know, like, what do you mean? Like I'm in the NBA, you know? But that's what I was referencing. And Duncan got it because he like giggled too when I asked him the question.
A big emphasis this off season with my body. Getting a little bit bigger, but then also just like the movement stuff, becoming a better mover and being able to move better just through my hips and have a little bit more mobility. So I thought that would really help me both offensively and defensively. Defensively, obviously staying in front of quicker players and just, you know, being disruptive and active on that. And then offensively, you know, just being able to attack closeouts a little bit more and be a little bit more aggressive on offense as well. So, yeah.
And mind you, that is like the ultimate satisfaction to me when I can make a player laugh or like relax or show any type of like appreciation to what I said. That's when I'm like, all right, check. We completed the mission. A lot of people, I think, including Davis Reed, they thought that the question was like meant to be like disrespectful or aggressive. When they spoke about it, they like kind of said it as a joke, like, oh, that was so disrespectful. But like, a lot of people out there were like, damn, like, who the hell is this? And it's funny because that was one of the very few games this season that I've had a tier 1 press pass. So I was there in person with him. Mm-hmm. And the reaction of everybody in the room when I asked the question was hilarious because 90% of the people there had no idea what I was talking about. And there was one person who knew what I was talking about and he started laughing. That was Brendan Tobin. And he's like the go-to guy when it comes to the Heat on the radio. So I sat like towards the corner, and then when Brendan walked in, I was, yo, is this seat taken? Like, I don't want to take anybody's seat. And he looked at me like, who the hell are you? And why are you here? Because I was a new face. And he looked at my press pass that it said tier 1, and I was like, oh yeah, I actually remember you from Zoom last year. And I was like, damn, Brendan Tobin knows who I am. Yeah. But it was all cool, so I sat there. So I thought it was hilarious because he was the only one that got the inside joke of the question. Yeah. Everybody else in that room turned and looked at me like, who are you and why are you saying this? And it was kind of awkward because I laughed too because the joke, it was supposed to be a joke and Brendan got it, but nobody else got it. And afterwards, I was like, I didn't even think about anything at the time. I was like, all right, that was a funny answer. Like, it was a funny question, funny answer. Good content. Let's wrap it up and go home. And then, I don't know if it was the next morning or like a few days later. It was like 2 or 3 days later that they released their podcast episode on their YouTube channel. And I get a DM from Jonathan. And he's like, yo, you're a legend for this or something like that. And I was like, what is he talking about? I remember I was driving to work. Mm-hmm. I was driving to work and I'm like, what is he talking about?
Bro, I recognized your voice instantly.
I was like, I'll look at that later. And then when I get to work and I see the link that he sent me, and he even sent like the timestamp. He was like, go to minute 7 point something. And when I open it and I scroll over there and they're talking about it on the podcast. Yeah. I damn near lost my mind. I was like, there's no way this is happening right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think someone asked you about what you worked on in the off season,
and at the end of the question threw in like, what do you need to improve to beat Davis in one-on-one, which is like such a disrespectful question to you, I thought.
I was asked that question, and apparently, according to you, the answer should have been my tan, because I actually heard from a couple people that like, hey, you look tan,
And that's when I DM'd them, and I was like, hey, just wanted to let you know there's no hard feeling. Like, that wasn't supposed to be like a disrespectful question. And they just responded with like laughing emojis, and they were like, it's all good. So I was like, all right, we're all good. Like, they knew it was a joke, but that could have gone sideways quick, but it didn't. And it ended up for some great piece of content. So it was basically an empty arena. All the stewards, all the security people were gone. It was just like a few of us sitting there. And I'm still sitting here waiting for the pressers to start. And I see Duncan come out of like the hallway and back onto the court. And I was like, should I go talk to him? Like, it was just like this random thought in my head, and I was like, should I go talk to him? And I was sitting there like all in like a fraction of a second. I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Can I get in trouble? Am I gonna get kicked out? There's no security here. There's no stewards. I can literally just walk down there and talk to him. And I was like, whatever, let's do it. So I literally closed my computer and left it there. They could have stolen my computer. I just left everything there and like ran downstairs. And when I got there, he was talking to they had their back to me. So to me, it was just a guy. And I was like, he was just talking to a guy. So I just came over and sat down in the front row, like the very first courtside. And I was just sitting there, and I like waved at him. And he looked at me and like he waved back. And I was like, how's it going? And he looked at me kind of weird, and he was like, it's going good. What's up? And I was like, nothing, just chilling. Like, I didn't even know what to say. And he was like, I'm going to come over there in a second. I was like, all right, cool. So he's talking to this guy, and then as they're talking, they kind of like start approaching. And he's like, what's up? And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm a reporter. Like, I've interviewed you before. I asked you about your podcast that one time. And he was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, hey, good looks for listening to the podcast. And we start talking about the podcast. At this whole time, the other person is just standing there. And I kind of felt bad because I interrupted their conversation, but at the time I didn't realize what was going on. And we started talking about the podcast and like this and that. And he goes, what t-shirt size are you? Oh, and I was like, oh, I'm a large. And he goes, all right, give me 1 second. And he starts like looking through his backpack. And then he goes, oh, and then he looks at the other person and goes, oh, by the way, here's my jersey. And that's when I look, and the other person was Pat Connaughton from the Bucks.
No way.
They were exchanging jerseys right there. And I was like, wait, who is this? And then I saw it was Pat Connaughton, and I saw his jersey. And Duncan was searching through his backpack, and then he goes, I have a t-shirt from my podcast that I was going to give Pat. Like, I just gave Pat his, but I have an extra one, but it's a triple XL. I was like, it fits. Don't worry about it. It'll fit. And then he was like, oh, okay, then yeah, here. And he gave me the shirt, and I was like, do you mind if we take a picture together? And he was like, no, let's take a picture. And I took like a selfie with him, and then he was like, oh, Pat, get in here. And Pat was no. And Pat was like, no, it's all you guys. And at this point, I still hadn't processed that it was Pat Connaughton, and I was like, I looked at him, and I was like, do you want to get in here? And he goes, no, I'm good. You guys got it. And I was like, right, whatever. And I just took my picture with Duncan, and I was like, hey, so nice to see you again. Best of luck, on the road in Milwaukee. And he was like, all right, I appreciate that. I took that shirt and I shipped it back home to El Salvador, where I'm from. And my mom had it tailored. So now it fits me.
Oh, it's awesome. A well-traveled shirt now, yes. And for good purpose.
Yes. So I'm waiting to see him again next time. And I plan on wearing the shirt. And when he's gonna see it,
shirt.
Exactly.
Did it shrink?
Like, yeah, what happened? It is gonna be a conversation starter. And that's just nurturing your relationships.
But wait, your relationship with Duncan lasted a very long time, because you were telling us back in the day, in your first ever time covering the Heat, Duncan comes up to you and hugs you from behind.
Yes.
So this is a long relationship.
And it's funny because I'm to this day, I'm sure that he just got me confused with somebody else, because there was no reason for him to come hug me.
But he's loved them since the beginning.
Yeah, we've been buddies since then. And one of these days when I have a chance to talk to him again, I just don't want it to be creepy and be like, hey, you know me, but you don't know me. You
Yeah.
hugged me the other. Like, I don't want to be like that crazy fangirl that's like, oh my god, back in 2017 at 3:45 p.m.
I haven't
April
washed my
27th, you
hand.
hugged me.
I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
washed my hand since he
exactly.
high-fived me.
Exactly. No, I don't want it to be like that. But when the relationship is nurtured a little more and I can approach him in a nicer way where it's no longer weird, I'm definitely gonna be like, yo, what happened that day?
We love Duncan Robinson stories because like there's always an update, especially when you work so closely with the Heat. You're always bringing the updates with the
It's
Duncan
hilarious.
Robinson saga.
I just realized that every time I've come here, I've shared like a different Duncan Robinson story.
And they're golden. Thanks for watching Banter Broadcast on YouTube. For more videos, shorts, and clips from our podcast, subscribe to the Banter Broadcast.